Welcome to Conversations with Conscious.Enterprises, where we're exploring the evolution of consciousness through business. I'm Roxana, and I hope this conversation gives you some insight into careers in fashion for any of you aspiring fashionistas, or I hope it inspires you to inquire into parental policies or other policies within your corporations, or I hope you just find it entertaining because Marissa has a really cool and interesting background. If there was a medal awarded for the most job interviews you could attend while pregnant, Marissa Kraxberger just might win it. And that's what's given her such an interesting perspective about motherhood and pregnancy in the workplace at so many different fashion brands. Marissa did receive much media attention for speaking out about Ivanka Trump's lack of maternity leave, but this feature is really focused on Marissa's career and learnings. So please don't listen to this conversation expecting something to light your political fire, because we really don't go there. In this conversation, we discuss Marissa's amazing career working for some of the most sought after fashion brands, her suggestions for improving corporate culture and parental policies, and how saying yes can help you grow. Please enjoy and share this conversation with anyone you think might find it interesting. And please follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And you can always find us and all the useful links and resources and join our mailing list at www.Conscious.Enterprises. Yeah, so thank you so much for having me here. Of course. It's such a beautiful office, too. I've never been up here.
It's very cool.
And it's right above it's connected to the showroom.
Connected to the store.
Oh, it's
we have a showroom over there, but yeah, the whole building, aside from 2 floors, is ours.
Very cool. And how long have you been here?
I've been in the company for 2.5 years, but they've been here, I think, since, the company started in 2002.
Okay.
But in this building, I'm not sure. Over 10 years.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let's dive in. You're the VP of Creative here at Rag & Bone. Tell me about a little bit about your role here and what you do exactly.
Sure, it's evolved since I started, but my role, I like to say the elevator pitch. My role is I'm here to bring Marcus Wainwright's vision to life. So he's our CEO, founder, and creative director, and so everything I do is really kind of inspired by his inspirations and references and desires for the brand. So I obviously am a creative, so I have my own spin on it, but it's a bit of a, it's a dance between like what he wants to bring to life and like what I can kind of bring to him, and it's that mixture. And so I oversee a big team. I have a team that's divided in 2 parts. There's an art team, which is art directors, producers, developers, copywriters, social media, etc. And then I have designers, and then I have a visual team that's store design, window design, and visual merchandising. Yeah, it's pretty big.
Awesome.
It's a pretty vast role, but it's good because really the brand is quite creative and Marcus is a creative, so it makes sense that under me, it would kind of have all the touch points of a brand.
Great. So what are some of the most exciting things that you're working on in a day-to-day? I know we talked a little bit about the video production. We'll include that as well.
Sure. So day-to-day, it's a mix. It's really half visual, half art. I've been an incredible senior director of store design and visual services that I partner with very closely, and we're always working on renovating stores or in-store fixturing or a new approach to visual merchandising, store windows design. So that's a really fun alternate side of my brain that I get to tap into. Anything from in-store murals, graffiti artists, to I was just recently in Tokyo for a renovation of our Motosambo store, and it's amazing. It's such a cool little store, and we went there for a big party, and we reset the store, and it's fun because with every store event we get to collaborate with new people, and so I really love that side of my job. The art side is what I guess is the most me, because it's what I've been doing for the past 12, 13 years. And that's anything from e-commerce photo shoots to lookbook shoots in-house, and so this is coming out in the fall, right?
Yes.
By then, we're about to shoot Eminem for a collaboration that we're doing with him.
Fun.
So that's coming up in 2 weeks. I'm very excited about that. We're going to Detroit to shoot him, and we're launching the collaboration this summer.
Cool.
So that's pretty exciting.
That's exciting.
The most exciting part of my job for me is films. So
Right.
when I came to Rag & Bone 2.5 years ago, one of the things I said to Marcus was that I felt like this brand had the opportunity to own films in an authentic way, not in a fashion films way, not in a way that's so overtly promotional, but to create content that's really compelling and speaks to people in a different manner, that perhaps they're watching it because they're interested in it and not that because they're being sold something. So that has been something we've really focused on for the past couple of years, and they came out with a film in February that I'm super proud of called Why Can't We Get Along? It was an incredible partnership between 3 directors, a prolific DP, scored by Tom York and choreography by Benjamin Milpay. That was amazing. Cool. But most recently I've been working on the production for 8 short films.
Okay.
And we have been working with the DP from The Lobster and Killing of Sacred Deer, Dogtooth. His name is Thimios Bakatakis.
Okay.
He's a Greek director of photography.
Oh, okay.
And we created a story that it's called Time of Day, and it charts the course of 8 different actor or actresses from the beginning of the day, like at dusk till, or at dawn until dusk, and then into the evening. And the idea is that every person, no matter how different they are or where they are, is connected by, these miscellaneous moments in the day, that it's nothing special necessarily, but that we all can connect to each other. And all 8 people are about 1 to 2 minute shorts, and they all have a different story. Some have speaking dialogue, some don't. Yeah. Some are really funny and weird, and some are just very cinematic and beautiful. Yeah. And it was really fun, really, really hard.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't think I anticipated what it means to do that many shorts in 1 month. Wow. It felt like we were working on like a feature film, even though it was just a small short film, because every single project, every single person had to be concepted individually and produced individually. So, and they all had to tie together.
Wow.
So it was a real creative, matter of problem solving, but super amazing. We're gonna start editing now, and I'm sure I'll be super proud of it.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be awesome. So take me down your career path a little bit. I want to know what your first job was, and how you ended up at Rag & Bone.
Let's see. First job out of college was at a record store, actually,
cool.
And printing company that, in a way, set the foundation for where I am, because I learned about printing, and then after that I worked for a printing company that I ended up partnering with this brand and making the design for an invitation for them. And when I did that, I realized that I liked the design side better than the selling side, so I went back to grad school for art direction and graphic design. And fast forward to my first internship in New York, which led me to my first job in New York, which was at Diane Von Furstenberg.
Oh, okay.
So I started at DBF in 2006, and as their only in-house graphic designer on the marketing team. It was a very small company then, and she was already an icon, obviously, but she hadn't really, the company hadn't expanded. It was in the early days of e-commerce. It was before we were really sending emails, and it's crazy that it wasn't that long ago, but a lot has changed.
So much has changed.
And
is it still here in
it wasn't.
Okay.
Actually, it was in the West Village.
Oh, okay.
So I learned about store design at I learned about everything at DBF. It was kind of my crash course in retail and fashion and branding, for that matter. And she had just bought the building here in Meatpacking, so I was a part of the early stages of reviewing architectural plans and things I didn't know.
Oh my god, yeah.
DBF had this amazing capability of seeing something in a person that they couldn't see in themselves, and I was given so much opportunity there, and I really didn't have, I certainly didn't have the experience to warrant it, but I think it set the foundation for me because it kind of made me believe that I could do anything. She was such a female-powered company and leader, and I mean, this is awful to say, but she used to say, the women here do everything, the men clean our bathrooms, which is just completely inappropriate. In meetings, I mean, at the time we had one HR person, I think, and it was like that person would just kind of look the other way. And the men who worked there actually legitimately cleaned bathrooms, aside from...
That's really funny.
It was really strange.
The ultimate girl power.
I mean, beyond. But, I mean, it was funny at the time, and it was so... I mean, the girls who I worked with then are still some of my best friends to this day.
That's awesome.
One of the girls in particular, too, I met the day I started, and they're still literally my two best friends. So it was an incredibly formative time, right? Is that how do you say that? Formative? Yeah.
Formative? Yeah.
Formative time? It's too early, sorry. For me in my career, because I was given, like I said, so much opportunity, but also I started as the only in-house graphic designer, and then I started to be able to build a team.
Right.
So I was there for 2 years before I decided that I wanted to try the agency life. So I left the company for a year and went to work for a strategy agency where I focused on accounts like American Express, Starwood Hotels, and then a couple brands like Chemical or USA Networks. And it was when Facebook was really started with brands. So it's interesting because brands hadn't experimented in social media. It really didn't exist.
Right.
And Facebook was starting to, open its doors to people, and to be there at that time was really interesting for me because I don't think I would have tapped into social media if I hadn't gone there. And I probably would have avoided it for a while just because I wasn't a MySpace girl. I wasn't doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was there for a year. I decided I really missed fashion, and at the same time, I was lucky enough that Diane reached back out to me and was like, "Will you come back?"
Oh, wow.
So I went back,
Yeah.
and so I was gone for a year to the day, actually.
Wow.
And I came back as an art director, which was really exciting for me. And then I built out a team of graphic designers and a producer, and I was there for 2 more years. So it was amazing. And that was the first place I was able to produce a film.
Very cool.
I produced a film in China, which was also...
What was that about? What was the storyline?
It was strange.
Yeah.
It was really strange. It was at an artist studio outside of Beijing, and it was with this model, and it was very alluring and evocative and sultry and very DBF at the time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't under my direction. It was really, I was producing it for Diane and her daughter who was directing it. But it was an incredible experience because imagine I'd never done that before, and then I was going to produce something in China. It was crazy. And I was 6 months pregnant.
Oh
at
my
the time.
goodness.
So, great experience. I ended up leaving after that because it was, DBF was amazing, but it was a tough place to work as a mom.
Okay.
Which you wouldn't think that would be the case. But I think it was hard for me because the demands were a lot more intense as far as like the time I had to give to company and to Diane, and I really wasn't sure what I wanted. I was, a young mom. I had my daughter who was a year old, and I was pregnant with my next son, and at 9 months pregnant, Kate Spade offered me a job as the web art director. So I left DBF, amazing place. I still, like I said, I'm still friends with everyone, but I was ready to kind of learn a bit more about digital.
Yeah.
So I went to Kate Spade, and amazing that they hired me 9 months pregnant.
Yeah,
kind of crazy. It's important because it happens again to me later. But Kate Spade was the most fun. Probably still the most fun I've ever had at a company.
Wow.
Because Kate Spade has, and to this day, is still so religiously branded. It's as a creative, there's such strict guardrails.
And that's why I would think that brand.
I know, it's so not me actually. It's not me at all. It's brand. I'm not a bows and glitter or champagne kind of girl at all. I'm way more beer and kind of old films like Rag and Bone. But Kate Spade made it fun because I knew my references. I knew the playground I could play in.
Interesting.
And so I could create these crazy worlds within this playground, and it was you could kind of dream up anything you wanted.
Right.
One year we were doing a rock band themed collection, and I was like, what if we do this, traveling tour bus with musicians, and then we have a digital like Facebook contest, battle of the bands, and they were like, okay, let's do it.
Oh my
so
God.
it's very rare you can work somewhere where no one's questioning like the budget immediately, but they're
Really?
like, oh, dream it up and we'll find a way to fund it.
That is really cool.
Spade was like that. I also got to do a choose your own adventure film when I was there, which I still love to this day, called Swan Dive or Cannonball.
And what was that about?
That was about, it was launching a swimwear collection.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think when I watch the video still, I don't think, oh, like, they're selling me swimwear, but it was about this girl in Palm Springs, and she's just hanging out by the pool, and you could choose what kind of music she listened to, how she danced, and whether she swan dived or cannonball.
That sounds like an interactive.
Yeah, so you literally could click on the screen and choose.
Oh, wow.
So it was very innovative at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know that you see that much anymore.
No, I don't think
I feel
I've
like
seen
it kind of
anything like that at
didn't
all.
go anywhere, but at the time it was quite cool.
Yeah.
So that was great. Kate Spade was really fun. What I realized after a year there was that digital wasn't enough for me. I really missed all aspects of the job. So I was presented with the opportunity to be the VP of Creative at Oscar de la Renta.
Oh, wow.
Which was
all
very
the
different.
years.
Yeah, very, very different. I'm obviously like founder-led companies. It's kind of my thing.
That's awesome.
I like being in a place, I like being in a brand, and I like bringing someone's vision to life.
Right.
Which I think is also why I like producing films, because I get to bring a director's vision to life. So it's very similar in a different world.
That makes sense.
So at Oscar I oversaw all creative, but it was very different, because imagine it's a very, very prestigious luxury brand, very small company, very particular company, and quite fancy.
Yes.
I remember starting and thinking Devil Wears Prada was just a movie, but it wasn't really. I was like, I'm really in this life.
Wow.
Aside from it not being editorial, it was very heels and dresses and long skirts every day.
Located?
Bryan Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was amazing. It was a really special experience. Not me. Sometimes when I look back, I look at what I wore every day to work, and I was like, what was I wearing? It was like tea-like dresses with like huge bobble earrings, and like my hair was like perfect. My dad in heels.
You felt like
So not
totally
me.
out.
I still can't get rid of those clothes because I feel like they're so special, and I was there under Oscar's leadership, which I feel super lucky that I was able to be there. And he was an incredible human being and so inspiring, so I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah.
And for the connections I made there.
Yeah.
Probably the most important thing that happened to me when I was there was that I started a children's wear blog for them called George and Ruby. So they launched children's wear, and they had no way to really promote it. We didn't really have marketing or advertising dollars. It was that was not something they did. They lived on PR.
Yeah.
So there was already an Oscar PR girl at the time who oversaw PR for the brand and was kind of the voice of the brand, so I became the voice of the children's wear. So I started a blog, and it was really fun. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was, I was able to integrate my family, my kids into my job in a way I never thought I would be able to, especially not at Oscar. And it was very embraced there, and they gave me a lot of freedom, and I worked on children's wear campaigns and children's wear little short films, and it was really fun. And it was almost 2 years I was there, and I left because I was pregnant. I was pregnant with my third.
Yeah.
I ended up losing that baby, but I know it's sad, but everything happens for a reason, I suppose. So Oscar was a great experience, but it was very taxing. It was hard. Emotionally, it was a hard job.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure kind of what I wanted to do. I still wanted to have more kids, so I ended up taking a job to build a brand. So I went to work for Ivanka Trump, and it was me and 3 other women who kind of worked with her to build the foundations of the brand book, the ethos, like what the brand was for, and I launched a blog for her. For many reasons, it wasn't the right place for me. Right. And so 2 years later, I was given the opportunity to come to Rag & Bone. And Rag & Bone I'd been a brand ambassador for Rag & Bone, I feel like, wearing the clothes all the time since the early days. Right. And it was a dream. So I interviewed when I was 8 months pregnant.
Oh my God.
It's very strange. And I was offered the job, and I've been here since, and I love it. I mean, it's very, I say it's the last fashion brand I'll work for. After this, I will
It's a big statement for someone with a big career.
I'm certain of it. It's laid in me a foundation and passion, even greater passion for film. So eventually someday I'll do that full time, but at the moment I'm really happy here, and I love the team. I love Marcus. I think his vision is incredibly strong, and I'm proud to work here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So when did you know that you wanted to work in fashion? Like, have you always been super
at all want to work in fashion. Yeah.
So
I had no desire. Actually, I didn't even know who Diane was when I went for the first interview. I had to like call my grandmother, and she was like, my grandmother knows everything about like fashion. She's Spanish and always read Hola magazine, and she's like, oh my gosh, such a big deal. And I was like, is it? I wasn't a fashion girl. I joke. I used to shop at TJ Maxx when I was in Atlanta, and it was just I bought whatever. And so when I started to like it more, and then it's quite addictive actually. It's you get into. I'm still not the kind of girl who's, I'm not reading magazines. I'm not obsessed with all the fashion shows. I probably should have been, and maybe at times I was more so. But I love branding, and it's a very fun way to do branding. It's very inspiring, and the projects are incredible, and the perks are incredible. You get to work with amazing people, and everyone's super passionate. And I say that the reason I work in house to brand is because when I do, I embody it. I incorporate it into my life by the clothing I wear, by the references I pull, and this way I study the brand. It's really important to me. So
So you're in fashion to stay. It sounds like.
Yeah, until I'm done with creative direction.
So we talked a little bit about all these different brands that you've helped build over the years. What would you say has been like your favorite? Can you pick one, or are they also different?
I mean, here for sure. Ragamo for sure. It's my absolute favorite. It's just aesthetically it to me. It's probably the most my family. I live in Brooklyn. It just feels like me. Everything about it is in line. I learned a lot at all the others, and they were probably a bit of who I was at the time. Mm-hmm. This is the more evolved version of me, I suppose.
And for those people that might not be as familiar with Renta, why don't you describe a little bit about what the brand is?
Let's see. It's got a very irreverent but respectful kind of manner of being. It's very British in sensibility because our founder is British, but he also has a real love for New York, and so it's a blend of the two. It's very downtown, it's not very uptown. It's kind of, someone described it to me really well the other day, this guy that I was interviewing for something, and he was like, if I go into a meeting and I'm wearing a suit, and I'm wearing a suit that's raglan and maybe it's a little bit undone, and I see another guy wearing a suit, he's like, I know, like, I feel cooler. And it was really funny to have a guy describe this to me, and I was like, I mean, I get it. Like, there is something about this brand that whether it's jeans and a t-shirt, whether you're dressed up, you just kind of feel like, I look good.
I look cool.
I'm not too overdone. Like, it's very minimal in a way, even though we do some crazy stuff too.
It does have kind of like an effortless.
It's very effortless.
Feel about it.
I mean, it's super easy to get ready for work every day.
Sure.
My whole closet is raglan at this point. It's fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I think sometimes when we take ourselves too seriously, we realize that we went too far. And there's always a contrast. In every way, in every project that we do, there's some sort of contrast. Like, if it's modern, then we put something old against it. If, in the clothing, it's like modern styling, but also like old traditional like fabrics or factories and mills that we work with. There's a relentless pursuit of perfection here in the way that we approach clothing and the way we approach everything. In film, even the film we just did was completely film, 16 millimeter. All the photos are film. There's nothing we can really do to change that. So there's something nice about that. This is what we have. We can't manipulate it too much. We can't go back and change things in digital because it's done. And there's something about that rings true in everything we do at Ragamo.
That's such an interesting concept these days. Filming, like you can't change it because it's actually on film.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. So you have how many kids now?
3.
Okay. And you've been pregnant many times.
Many times, It's so weird.
What has your take been on? I mean, you've obviously experienced so many different cultures, cultures, and all these different companies. What is your take on? Have you had any bad experiences in interviews while you've been pregnant? Or any thoughts on the industry as a whole in terms of that?
I feel I've been really lucky, to be honest. Like, I just recently for the first time in my whole career had someone say something to me to the tune of like, well, like I have more experience than you, I know better. And it was, I won't get into the details of it, but I feel like I was kind of like, wait, what? Like I've never had anyone do that. I've never felt like there was a ceiling. I've also never really felt that being a woman has hindered me in any way. And perhaps it's because I'm in fashion. And also perhaps it's because I didn't allow it to be an option, you know? And it sounds, I don't say that in kind of a pompous way at all. It's just I never let it enter my realm of thinking.
Right.
And if it happened, I probably ignored it in a way. In interviewing, I've been lucky. I'm pretty particular, so I didn't go on very many interviews with brands that I wouldn't feel like they were aligned with me. I remember for a while, like a long time ago, I interviewed at Tory Burch and I very much wanted the job. I mean, it didn't work out for the right reasons.
Right.
But even there, like, you know, I went through a lot of, that one was a really tough interview process, I remember. And still it was a really good one. I feel like interviewing is important because you learn a lot about yourself and the way you speak about yourself.
Totally agree.
The questions that people ask you, they're good questions to ask yourself actually as you're developing in your career. And I'm really grateful for those experiences.
Right.
But I've also been super lucky. Almost in every job I've had someone who has kind of wanted me to be there already.
Right.
And I've tried to, you know, foster that kind of element with my teams too. I have 2 girls that have worked with me at 4 of the jobs. So I've been able to bring my teams with me, which has been really
That's huge.
Yeah.
And in terms of corporate culture, how would you describe the actual internal corporate culture here at Dragon Bone?
We are not as corporate. We try to be corporate sometimes, but it doesn't really.
You walk in and it totally does not have.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I don't think Marcus would want it to have a corporate vibe. There is an element of it that needs to happen because we're quite big now.
Right. How many stores do you have now?
We have 33 stores.
Globally?
I should know this answer very quickly, but
sounds about right.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of franchise partner stores, a lot internationally. Yeah.
Got it.
And so, and we're renovating and always exploring like new potential store openings. We just recently, the most recent one we opened was Miami Design District, which was really amazing.
Yeah.
So corporate culture. Gosh, Marcus, I think, sets the tone.
Yeah.
You know, I say this all the time, and one time I was speaking with someone who was like frustrated about the work hours, and I was like, you know, I really respect his work hours. He's a 9 to 6:30 kind of guy. He's a dad, he has 3 kids, his family's like number one.
Yeah.
The only thing that's above the rag mode, I think, is his family.
Yeah.
And he's relentlessly dedicated to both.
Right.
Which is nice because he doesn't email on the weekends, he doesn't really email at night.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really about like you being here and giving your all during the work hours, which I really respect as a parent especially.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a Peroni at the end of the day every day, so there's like a little bit of that like beer, like happy hour culture, which is kind of fun and playful.
Yeah.
You know, the brand grew under the leadership of people that were just passionate about creating this product, so it never had that corporate
cutthroat kind of
feeling. No, not at all. And that's good and bad because it's good because there's this sense of like everyone can have a voice.
Yeah.
But it can be tough when everyone has a voice.
Right.
So
that's true.
it's a little bit of growing pains, I think, throughout the time. Like we've had like ups and downs as corporate culture, and I think we're still trying to define it. You know, and what feels right for us, and the landscape in retail that's really changing all the time, and so we have to stay competitive. And one thing as a woman that I'll say I'm super proud of here. Mm-hmm. A year ago, we changed the policy on parental leave.
Oh, wow.
So not only maternity, but also paternity. It used to be that it was just 6 weeks disability, and which is common in New York.
Yeah.
But we were able to, you know, a group of us women got together and put together a plan for a parental leave policy, which now is 12 weeks paid for women and 4 weeks paid for men.
That's
Right now. The hope is that it'll eventually be a parental leave policy that encompasses both, but it was 1 week for men before.
Oh my god.
So, or secondary caregiver is the more appropriate way. So primary caregiver gets 12 weeks, secondary caregiver gets 4 weeks, which is really exciting, and we're super proud of that.
That's a huge improvement.
Yeah.
You should be proud of that.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great. How would you say that the corporate culture here differs to like an Oscar de la Renta? Because I would imagine that Oscar de la Renta is a little more
it's very, very different.
Yeah.
Also, that company was so small.
It was.
So yeah, very, very small. It was maybe 100 people when I was there, maybe. And the atelier was there, and everything was on 2 floors.
Mm-hmm. Would you say it had a little bit more, like, did you feel like a little more competitiveness between?
Oh yeah, that was a cutthroat culture
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, it's to no one's surprise,
Right.
It comes from the Vogue, like Anna Wintour kind of vibe,
Right.
and you could be, at Oscar, anyone of that caliber could walk through the door anytime. It was very high profile, obviously.
Yeah.
And very buttoned up and quiet and not playful.
Yeah.
Cutthroat. But good. I'm glad I did it. Even if I'm not cut from that cloth. It was a really good experience.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like cutthroat, depending on how it is, can be good because competitiveness isn't really a bad thing by nature. It's more just how it's kind of.
The thing that I learned the most there that I think has helped me along is that I realized when I came in, because I came in quite a senior role with a lot of expectations and quick criticism.
Yeah.
And a company that was absolutely that tough, I realized that the best thing I could do was just try to not be a bull in a china shop. Try to just come in and make allies. Understand what people wanted, their needs, also their expectations, and create kind of allies in every team because I needed every team to want to like me, to like working with me so that I could succeed.
Interesting.
Anything from the design team to the sales team to, PR, marketing, e-commerce. So I think that was a really good lesson. I'm normally very outgoing and friendly, so I feel like I'm the type of person that normally makes friends quite quickly. It wasn't the case there. It was very kind of absorb and slowly build these relationships, and that was a really good lesson.
That is very interesting. So instead of shielding yourself for cover, you kind of just made sure that you fit in and were able to relate to
and
people.
also listen. I think sometimes people come on board at companies guns a-blazing and wanting to make all these changes, and I didn't think that was the right approach there, and it certainly wouldn't have been. And so I think it's really important when you start somewhere, especially at a senior level, to understand your peers and to understand your team and where they're coming from and what they've experienced, and I think that helped me a lot when I started here.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it actually. 'Cause, I have not worked in the fashion industry directly, but I have a lot of friends that do, and from what I've heard, there is kind of this standoffness. A lot between peers and employees
absolutely.
At a lot of these companies, so I think that's
Well, it's a competitive space.
Very.
A lot of places are, but fashion especially because
in a very different way.
It is very
slightly
different.
Competitive.
And there's I think people. I think everyone is a little bit lucky to be in it in a way.
Right.
It's a special industry, so I think people are very protective and very kind of on the defense a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I certainly have been, so I understand that.
That's interesting. What do you think that businesses and corporations need to do to improve just general culture, what we're talking about, women's policies, like maternity leave, paternity, parental leave, things like that?
I think the most important thing is it all starts with leadership. It all starts at the top. If you're a good leader and you care about your team, it permeates through the company. If the leadership is bad, this is obviously people know this, but I don't think I've ever believed it so much. I feel like the more you can give your people and the more you can trust them and empower them, the more they're going to give to you and the harder they're going to work for you. That said, I think every culture is different. In my previous job where we started this brand, 4 of us women started this brand, we were, in a way, I think we were a bit naive.
Yeah.
We were inspired by the Netflixes of the world. We want a very flexible policy. You can work from home. You could. There are no hours, and there's all this flexibility. I actually thought crippled me It was harder.
That's interesting.
I hated it in the end, and I actually was like, no, I actually feel like it worked against me in my life because I never stopped working ever. Because it was flexible, so I could leave, but then I was always kind of needing to be on.
Yeah.
So
there's no structure.
It never stopped. It was just relentless, and I always felt like I was on call, and I always felt like I should have been doing something I wasn't doing. Whereas here, I really appreciate the hours.
Right.
You know, I'm really grateful that it's a very, like, my job, it's not to say my job is a 9 to 6:30, but that's a bit because of who I am, and I'm a relentless overachiever most of the time, but it can be. And I know that I can go home and not worry about emails, and I know that I can enjoy my weekends where I didn't have that before.
Right.
So I think cultures, what's most important is that it's different for every company, and a company should decide on the kind of culture they want to build and then hire people that fit into that culture, because it is definitely not something that there's like a blanketed way to do things.
Right.
And I think if there was anything I could encourage people to do when they're starting out a brand or when they're trying to change a brand, even here, you know, I think that there's elements at play that we're like, should we do this or should we do this? What works? Like, you know, testing is good, but understanding where you start, what the brand ethos is, like, can actually guide and guide in hiring. The people are everything. You know, they build the culture.
Right.
So
that's great advice. Do you have any internal policies or commitments to wellness for your own team, your own department that you're the head of?
Like how, like, vacation or stuff like that, or like,
or just like outings, or like.
I wish we were better at it, to be honest. I have all good intentions of doing that. I'm probably known for doing pizza nights in my apartment, so whether they're small or large, I love to host people. It's really funny because when I started here, I offered my team, which was small at the time, a pizza night at my place. My husband and I make homemade pizzas, and then the kids get to experience who I work with, and that's really nice for me. And this one guy was like, oh, I don't know about that. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, that's too close. I never, and I was like, oh, okay, like, that's fine. You don't have to come over. But it was probably a good learning for me too, that I let people in very quickly. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And I appreciated him in saying, I don't know, like, maybe that's like too much.
Too close for comfort.
I was like, okay, it's just pizza, but fine.
That's really funny.
So, but I mean, I respected him for saying that too.
Totally.
I'm a diehard traveler, so I think everyone needs to take vacations. I think everyone needs to travel. Yeah. So I encourage that. And then, I don't know, I wish I had more wellness routines. Yeah. I'm not a very, I never, like, if people say they need to take time off, they take time off. I trust them. I'm not, with that kind of stuff, I'm not a micromanager at all. I've been micromanaged. I hate it. Yeah. So I like to give my team freedom, and I think sometimes that stresses people out, or leadership I've had, that I like to give them freedom, but I think, you know, it's important for people to have their own self-development, and I think trust is huge.
And I think, like you said before, you should hire people that are in line with your ethos, and your culture, and that you trust, and the rest kind of makes itself. Cool. Do you have any personal, like, routines? I mean, you have 3 kids at home.
I do, actually.
Your life must be very jam-packed, so what do you do to keep yourself
I'm getting better. I'd say for the past... For much of the early years, and my kids are still very young, I wasn't very good at my own personal routines, but in the past year I've really changed, and I'm a lot happier. Yeah. I get up almost every day and go to the gym at 5:30, which is the best. It's changed my life, actually. I love it. I look forward to it. I'm teaching or reteaching myself French, so I listen to French lessons at the gym. And I love that part of my day.
Reteaching, did you learn?
Yeah, I know. I can speak it not super well. I can read it, but I really want to be fluent. So
very cool.
I'm practicing that, and the gym has been really important to me, and just kind of controlling my, like, health habits and eating healthier and exercising more. I was telling my husband that for the first time probably in my life, I didn't get sick this winter.
Oh my god!
And I fundamentally believe it's because I dedicated 100%. So much time to my health. So that has really helped me, and just reading more and watching films and really focusing on what inspires me and finding space for me again has been a journey I've been on in the past year, and I think it's changed me inside for the better. I'm connecting more with who I am. I think as a mother, I think we tend to give a lot, and we give away a lot. And for a long time, I would say, my only time is I only have time for work and kids, and the time for work is my time. But then I realized, well, that's not really fair. That's not super healthy, actually. So I feel bad for anyone that's been under my leadership that has seen that, but hopefully they're seeing me evolve too. That it's super important for me to find my own personal time too. Personal just for me, it's family and work, but then just for me is really important.
Great. What do you do at the gym? What's your workout routine like?
I run, or I do elliptical, and then I do like my own kind of set of I kind of, not weights, but my own, what do you call it?
Interval training?
Interval training. I don't do classes because they're too late in the day. And
5:30.
It's so nice to get up so early. Now I'm used to it. It's empty, and I live in Dumbo. It's super peaceful.
I love it there.
And I go to a really nice gym, so it's really probably my favorite thing that happens in my life right now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. How do you value success? Do you consider yourself a successful creative executive today?
I think success, I wouldn't relate it to my job necessarily. I'd relate it to doing work that I'm proud of, probably. And so in that regard, I feel like I'm successful. And being a good person and leading a team well, to me, those are the things that define success. I've never looked for it in accolades from people. I actually don't really seek that many people's, affirmation in my job, which I struggle with people that do a lot of the time, where people need everyone's approval. I'm not really that way. I'm way more focused on my gut instinct. So it's not to say I don't have self-doubt, I do, but I'm very instinctual in my approach to things. So
have you always been that way with the gut instincts?
I don't know. I think in my career, yes. It's gotten better over the years, and I'm a pretty quick decision maker. Not quick in that I'm rash, but I know pretty quickly what it is that I want or how I see something happening, and it's not, I can adjust, but I definitely have a gut instinct. So success, I would feel like I wasn't successful if I was staying somewhere where I was really unhappy. And sometimes I have had to do that, and I'm glad I've done it in the past. My previous job, my mother always said to me, you learn the most when you're in the valley, and I really was in the valley. There was no peaks. I was really in the valley of suffering and wanting to leave. But I was there for 2 years, and I'm glad that I went through what I went through, because
this was where?
At Ivanka. Because it really taught me a lot about myself, how important my values are, and what I believe in as a woman, as a human, as an employee, and as a boss. So sometimes you have to be in really bad situations to learn from
Absolutely. And look what you brought to this company. You made a big change for the paternal, maternity. I can't say that.
I know. Parental leave. Exactly.
That's great. I always like to ask this as a last question. What's a valuable piece of advice that you'd like to give to other creative executives, particularly maybe women that are climbing the corporate ladder, or even beginning businesses for themselves with all these issues in mind?
Let's see. Well, maybe there's two parts. The one piece of advice I give everyone on my team is that to always say yes. There's always a way. I like surrounding myself with yes people, and I've even been caught in scenarios where my team has reminded me that, oh no, there's a way, and I've been the one that's we can't do it. So I think seeing that there's a solution first.
You mean yes people as in we'll figure it out, not yes people that are
we'll figure it out. No, okay, I have no idea how to do that, but I'm gonna figure it out. That has been how I've gotten where I've gotten. The fake it till you make it mentality is, I hate that phrase, but it's very, very true. Most of what I've accomplished I didn't know how to do to begin with. And I still am in scenarios like that all the time. I'm sure, I can do that. Don't know how, let me get on Google. Recently I'm But yes, I will get that for you. Especially as I venture further and deeper into film production.
Right.
And then as women, so for me, the best thing I think I do still today, and I'm very grateful that I saw this in myself early enough, is to tell my kids to not make excuses. And this happened to me when my daughter was probably 2.5, 3, and I was putting her to bed, and she was like, "Mommy, I wish you were home tomorrow. I wish you didn't have to go to work." And initially, I was going to say, "Oh, I wish I was too. I wish I didn't have to work either." But for some reason, and I'm so glad I did stop myself, and I was like, "You know what, Alexa? Mommy loves being home with you. I love being with you. Obviously, but I really love to work too. And this best version of mommy is to do both. And I'm going to be the best mommy because I can do both."
Yeah.
And I have thought about that moment since I had it, and I think about it still all the time. And actually, I was talking to my husband about this last night, that the other day was like, "Oh, all the moms pick their kids up from school, and you're not picking me up. I wish you were picking me up." And I was able, and I said to her, I was like, I would love that opportunity too, but I work and I really love my job, and you're gonna grow up knowing a strong woman who loves to do her job and also loves to be with you. So you have to understand that, not every mom is the same, and those moms are probably very happy too, and I'm very happy. So, we have different lives, and that's okay. And I think integrating the kids into your life and explaining to them, I've been traveling a lot for work recently. Most I've ever traveled in my career.
Yeah.
And that's not easy for them.
Yeah.
I'm sure, or my husband or our nanny, but I got home from a long trip on Friday, and I showed them videos of what I was doing and explained to them, Mommy's making these mini movies, and this is what I do, and this is how I work with people, and I think that they can understand my role and what I do every day. Just, it helps them feel like they're a part of it, not that they're alienated from it. So I think as a woman in a big career and wanting to pursue an even bigger career, I think that is what I would advise. Help them understand what you do and make them feel a part of it. And then it becomes less of I wish you were here, more so tell me about your job kind of story.
Totally. And I'm sure they feel the passion that's emanating off of you when you're so proud to show
absolutely.
Like that.
They stop questioning it. Then they're like, okay.
Right. Excited to share about this.
Exactly.
That's great advice. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
This is a conversation.
Thanks for having me. Great. Yeah, thank you so much.